anything. Oh, there we go.
You, Tony.
What's up, everybody? Tony Camper here. Welcome to another episode of the BBL Show. Today we're doing a special Friday night edition. It's going to be myself and my partner in crime, Larry Carter, the Guru, and tonight's special guest is a friend of mine, Mr. Matt Lenzi. Say what's up, man.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
All right, so a little background on how I know Matt. I don't know if you know or not, but I'm into Comic-Cons, cosplay, things like that. And if you don't know what cosplay is, it basically means you dress up, you nerd out. You dress up as a superhero or, somebody from a TV show, sci-fi, anything like that. And it's just a big convention of a bunch of people getting together, decked out, bunch of movie personalities, show personalities, popular sci-fi culture, comic books, things like that, and it's a really good time. But anyway, when I first started the Barbell Life, shortly afterwards, I went to one of my first Comic-Cons, which was the Amazing Arizona Comic-Con out in Phoenix, Arizona. And while I was there, I came across a booth, Lex Comics. Shout out to Jeremy. It instantly caught my eye. I saw this booth with all these, comic drawings and bright colors and cool T-shirts, and there was a guy there, big buff motherfucker, in a singlet, and I'm like, this guy, fucking jacked. And I went up to the booth, and I met Jeremy, the owner of the company. I met Matt, and just talking about comic books and just Comic Cons in general. And I really loved what I saw, And Matt was there flexing and taking pictures with people and just going all out. And I was like, man, that's a good dude right there. And right after that, I added him to the Barbell Life, and now we are here a couple years later doing the BBL show, and we got Matt on as a guest. So, it's an honor, man. Matt, where do I start? This guy's doing everything. The power lifter, he has a shit ton of records in powerlifting. The dude's a model. He's done MMA. Like I said, he does cosplay. I mean, he's doing everything. So let's go to the man himself, man. Where do we start, Matt?
Well, when it comes to my lifting, I always have to go back to my father. He got me into it at 6 years old. He was already a 4-time world champion in NASA, and he's always been a very avid lifter with NASA, and we competed together in competitions starting at 8 years old. The earliest I can remember my stats from a competition was when I was 11 in the West Virginia regionals of NASA, and I did a 181 deadlift, a 150 squat, and a 110 bench as a 11-year-old weighing in at 90 pounds. So I was doing pretty good already. When I hit 12, I deadlifted 240 in a competition in Pittsburgh. Then in another competition in Pittsburgh when I was 14, I broke 400. So being 14 years old, deadlifting 408, I was pretty happy about that with myself. And I weighed only 150, I believe, 155. I was in the 160 weight class at that time.
Yeah, you're crushing my ego over here, man. I'm around that weight group, and I barely cracked 405 a couple years ago, and I'm like, yeah, this guy's a little kid smashing freaking my PR. But it cracks me up because, you're talking about you started powerlifting when you were 8 years old. Most kids are, learning to swim or riding a bike, and you're over at a powerlifting competition, deadlifting and squatting and benching. Like that blows my mind. It's
One
funny.
that I was
Go
very
ahead.
appreciative of my father to do that, because I felt like that helped me adapt and really socialize and learn a lot of different aspects, more than just lifting. It helped me become a better person by meeting all these people when we were in Pittsburgh competing, when we were in New York competing, West Virginia, we were in North Carolina competing, um, and I mean, these types of experiences bring about, I feel, I become a better person from it.
Yeah, definitely. Powerlifting and just weightlifting in general really builds character, and it builds dedication, um, perseverance, things like that. Because you have to really push yourself. You have to challenge yourself. You have to, there's always an obstacle in front of you that you have to overcome. And the only way you can do it, you can't get help. It's an internal thing. You have to, dig deep and bring that out and persevere through whatever hurdle is in front of you. So I really think that's awesome, man. We had a guest a few weeks back, Kristini, her name's so hard to pronounce her, and her daughter Demaya, and her daughter, I want to say what, Larry? She was like 8, 9, something like that.
Yeah, I think she's closer. She's a little bit older. I think she's like 11 actually, a little bit older than my daughter.
Well, she's been powerlifting for a couple of years now, and little thing, but she's a beast. They call her Powerhouse Princess. She's actually sponsored with 5% right now, so there's like videos of her and Rihanna tearing it up and stuff. But
Yeah,
just
interesting about that.
talking with them, you can see she's really disciplined, and she was talking about her macros and getting her BCAAs in, and it was just like, wow, it blows my mind. Like most kids are running around, playing tag and stuff, and you got these kids like yourself prepping for a powerlifting meet and stuff. But NASA, I can speak on that too. My dad, he's been powerlifting since I was a little kid. Um, and the way I got introduced to NASA was through my dad. He was competing for a long time when we moved to Arizona. I mean, he's in the record books as well. He's a beast. But when I want to say it was 2013 or no, 14. I think it's 14. He told me, he was like, "Hey, can you get down to 148 by November?" And it was like, I don't know, maybe early October. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he was like, "All right, we got records to break." And I was like, "All right." So did my first meet, and he had stopped doing them a couple years before, because I mean he's in his 50s now, and it's just hard, his body's falling apart, his back and stuff. But I was like, "I'll do it, but I want you to do it with me." And so he was like, "Okay, this will be my last powerlifting competition, and you're first." And I was like, "Deal." So yeah, we went out there and both did our thing, and both pulled some first place trophies and got some good pictures. And I mean, it was a great experience. And NASA's amazing, man. I mean, everybody's super cool, supportive. Uh, Rich Peters really, he has a great organization with NASA, and shout out to NASA. You guys are awesome. Wanted to throw that plug out there. Rich, Tad, those guys. Um, so you've been with them since you were a kid, right?
I've been competing with them for 22 years already.
Yeah,
Um, since I was 8 years old, my first competition was with NASA, and I've never done a powerlifting meet with anyone else. I've tried two strongman competitions so far throughout my life, but when it comes to powerlifting, never compete with anyone else.
Why would you want to? I mean, I'm telling you, those guys, everybody's so cool, and it's just a great experience and so much support. And you know, one of the things that I know Rich does is like, say somebody doesn't have money to pay their fee for the event. he'll let them compete and just do an IOU thing, like, hey, get it back to me when you can. Like, how many organizations are doing something like that? Like, that's unheard of. He's
Yeah,
just a
no
good
one.
he's a good dude, and nothing but love for NASA. Um, so back to you being a kid powerlifting, you mentioned you said you had a injury or something when you were a kid. Tell me
No,
about that.
no. I would like to say it's not an injury because it was something to be born with.
Uh,
I was born with a spondylolisthesis, and it's a lot like scoliosis. Scoliosis goes side to side. Mine pushes the disc backwards, straight backwards out of my spine, um, and it affects my lowest five discs. When they found it, it was because I was complaining of what I thought was a pulled muscle during a wrestling match in ninth grade. I was 14 at the time, and what they said actually happened was because this disease was affecting my lowest five discs, and the middle of those five were pushed out of place so far that during a wrestling match, when I picked up this guy to do a slam, I actually cracked the disc. Um, but it was only again, it wasn't because of the sport. It was because my disc was already 80% out of alignment, and it was ready to break as it is on like pretty much any pressure. And but it was a disorder that we did not know yet. I was born with. So after I went to the hospital for like I thought the cramp or a pulled muscle. The doctors X-rayed me and found that it was something much more serious. Um, and by the time I got into surgery, it was a week after my 15th birthday. It was a 12-hour long operation. I now have 32 pins in my spine, a titanium fusion cage to replace the broken disc. Um, the fusion cage is there to fuse the pieces of that broken disc together, but the cage can never be removed. Um, the skin had to be stapled back together with 28 medical staples. I was told that I probably wouldn't learn to walk again for 4 to 6 weeks because they just had to cut open all those nerve endings, and I forced it to be literally it was exactly 7 days after my surgery where I was able to walk on my own without any assistance, um, and they told me 4 to 6 weeks. And because at the time I was not a fan of hospitals, I guess I wasn't liking being in there for 7 days already. Um, as soon as I was able to walk without assistance, my doctor told me he would approve for me to leave, and I did a lap around the. It was a slow lap, but it was a lap around the floor that I was hospitalized on, and then the doctor signed me off for leaving, and that was probably like the most painful lap I've ever done. But because I had a really big back brace too on me at the time.
well, that brings it back to what we were saying earlier about powerlifting teaching you things, uh, perseverance and things like that. I mean, perfect example, man. You were laid up in the hospital and they were telling you something and you said, no, I know I could beat that. You took it as a challenge and sure enough, you know, a week later you're walking again. So awesome, man. That's a crazy story.
That's
Um,
like that's like Christine, where she was talking about the Maya, how people look at the parents and go, your kid shouldn't be powerlifting. That's too much stress on them. And you can see by just regular life, the kids, you were born with a defect that you didn't know about, and you got hurt, and that had nothing to do with powerlifting. Like myself, in sixth grade, I had to get a rod through my femur because I got hit by a car and had that. So anything could really happen to you. Playing it
Well, and
safe.
my surgeon swore by it that he believes my powerlifting is what saved me from being in a wheelchair today, because he said that my muscular back structure kept my disc enough in alignment that if I didn't have that strong of a back structure, he said that I would have been paralyzed long before I ever met him. He said probably like by the time I was 11 or 12 because of how serious of a disorder I have. But the spinal muscles or the back muscles were working against the disorder enough that it helped keep the disc in alignment for at least until the day that I met him. Um, And so basically, he said I probably had like another year before I would have been paralyzed had I not met him already. But basically, he said that my lifting gave me that extra year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Larry, you got that picture of him as a kid deadlifting? I want to show that. Um, like I said, man, most kids are, playing tag and, hide and seek and shit like that, and here you were
Oh yeah.
freaking.
If you got the one where I'm 16 in a bright blue singlet, kind of a sumo deadlift.
One.
So after the surgery, I did a lot of mowing yards, whatever I needed to do, working on farms, to collect the money to get myself to nationals, and because I knew I wanted to get back into lifting and get back to where I was before, if not better. And
I'm not sure if this is the right one.
no.
It's him in competition.
Okay. One moment.
Like a young kid. I sent it by itself.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were doing all that to raise money so you could go to the nationals, and this was after your surgery.
Yeah, and I actually rode a Greyhound bus, just me and my best friend, for 35 hours from Pennsylvania to Oklahoma City to be able to compete. And
Dedication.
my dad, he actually, yeah, that's the one. So this now is 6 months later after nationals. This is now at World Championships, also in Oklahoma City that year. This is back in 2002. August 2002. I'm deadlifting there 444 pounds. I'm 16 years old. I weighed in, I want to say I weighed in the 181 weight class now, but I was like 170 or 175. Yeah, that was a struggle pulling that 440. It was 446 if I remember correctly.
And this wasn't too much long. This wasn't very long after your whole surgery ordeal, huh?
It was exactly 1.5 years after my surgery.
That's So have you had any complications from this surgery? Or
The only I've never had any complications other than when I feel sometimes back soreness that like I can tell is not just muscle soreness, and then I know that like I need to make this my rest day after that, or like maybe I'll be in the gym for a little bit and I feel it. I'm just like I know I've got to back off today, and maybe I'll go do some kind of exercise that's different than what's affecting me.
You get like the pins, like in my leg, I still have the pins in there, and so at some point when I have to, work too hard, you feel the pins stabbing and kind of throbbing against the muscle.
Yeah, that's sort of it.
It's funny because all three of us got hardware in our bodies. I mean, I got screws and shit from my my ACL surgeries. That's funny.
Yeah.
We can't walk through metal detectors. That's funny. All right, so you've been powerlifting, you said, for 22 years with NASA. Now, how did you end up becoming like a judge?
Well, actually, I certified when I was 16 also, just because I wanted to volunteer. I enjoyed the environment so much. I wish I had sent you that picture. I've got a picture of me and Tad Peters together when we were 16, being loaders and spotters for the World Championships on the heavy day. And a guy actually passed out while squatting 1,000, like 80 pounds, and that was on my shoulder for a few seconds before more spotters helped. But I was the spotter on the side when that guy passed out.
He passed out mid lift or what? Or after he re-racked it?
No, he mid lift. So it dropped on my shoulder. And
you were 16 grabbing that?
I was 16. Yeah, I was 16 grabbing that. But I mean, I've always known proper way of spotting, because I mean there is actually a good technique to spotting, but and there's just so many people who think it's so simple. But when you're spotting 1,000 pounds, you need to know what you're doing.
Well, obviously you do, or they wouldn't have put you there. They must have.
Yeah, and then I certified as a referee that year, and they wouldn't let me judge at that nationals because I needed to certify like with another level to get to nationals. So I I was a judge at a state and a regional championship that year back on the East Coast. And then when I won state, regional, national, and world championship that year, plus becoming a referee and judging, and I also was a spotter voter at the world championships and nationals of that year. I won the teenage division athlete of the year award when I was 16, and they felt that I was deserving of that. And then I took a little bit of time off as then I tried to put some focus back into my schooling. I was still finishing up high school, and I was kind of in and out of homeschooling because of with my surgery, my doctor recommended that the state had paid for homeschooling for that for disability, and
very cool.
so I was doing that, and also doing my rehab as well. But yet, like, I would come to rehab after the competition and show them pictures, and they're like, "That's not helping us." But I think it was.
It's I've said this before, but like, I've had 3 ACL surgeries all within the same year. Had 2 knee infections from these surgeries, so my knee was a mess, and I built up a lot of scar tissue, and I did over a year of physical therapy. I mean, they had me on standing on this and moving with these balls and these bands and blah 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 blah. I did all kinds of shit, and no matter what I did, though, my knee wouldn't completely heal up. Like, I had this bend in my knee. I couldn't straighten it out completely. The band was stuck, and trying to bend it out hurt. And they had me doing these things where they would press the knee down for a few seconds to kind of straighten it out, but it would go right back. And it was just all that scar tissue kind of built up. And then once I was finally healed enough to where I could start squatting again and doing legs again, that was the one thing that saved me, because doing squats started breaking up the scar tissue. And once I started squatting again, sure enough, I was able to finally straighten my knee out, and that was the only thing that broke up that scar tissue. None of the stuff that the physical therapists were doing worked.
Yeah, no, because even my first day of rehab, they put me on the leg press machine, and they put on like 20 pounds, and I just looked at them like, "Are you serious?" And so they were like, "Yeah, we just gotta start light and move on up." And then as soon as she walked away for a minute to go grab the next thing, my next set, I put on the entire stack, and then played with that. And she comes back, and she was so annoyed at me. She was like, "What are you doing?" "No, I'm bored. I'm not playing around with 20 pounds."
You're like, "Shit, put me to sleep."
Yeah.
Well, that's a crazy story, man. I mean, I didn't know that for a long time till recently when we talked. Recently, not too long ago, you moved to California, and you became the records chairman for NASA.
Yeah. Well, because they never had one before for California, because they don't hold competitions in California, at least not yet. And but I felt that as a way I could contribute to NASA is maybe by starting up a records section for California. Maybe it'll bring some California lifters, or there is a few, but bring more to NASA, as I always want to continue seeing NASA grow. And hopefully one day we can see some NASA competitions here in California. We just need, they said that they'll do it, they just need an affordable place to go. It's because a lot of places want to charge outrageous numbers, and if they do it, then they have to charge outrageous numbers to their lifters, and they don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, California would be huge for that too. I see it happening, and if you ever need help trying to get interest or whatever, I mean, we could use the group and kind of let those guys know and kind of put something together, maybe some kind of not petition, but like a list or something to get that ball rolling. So just let me know, man. we can definitely help out. Like I said, I love NASA, so that'd be awesome.
Well, I know that Tad has told me before that they just need like if I can guarantee about 40 to 50 entries, and a good place for them to hold the competition at.
Okay. Well, put something together, and you do that, and we'll pump it in the group, man. And I know we have well over 40, California guys in the group that would love to go and, sling some weight. So, yeah, let me know about that.
Tony will
Uh,
fly out there.
yeah. So outside of powerlifting, like I said, you're doing a ton of other stuff too.
Tell us
Um,
Well,
about
so
the
we
MMA.
Yeah, we left off when I was talking about being like 16, 17 area. When I was 19, I got signed MMA contract, and I actually just competed in my second national championship at this time when I was 19 in Springfield, Ohio, and there was um, back in that time frame, I think it was 2005. It was still illegal to hold MMA fights in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and this boxing agent had just found out they were about to make it legal to do MMA fights, so he wanted to sign some people. He decided to first sign my best friend, who Mike Bender, who is at the time was a ranked amateur boxer. He was one of the top ranked in the state, and then he put my name out there, and so then the guy came and watched me compete, and at that competition I broke every national record in my weight class and age group, so he decided to go ahead and sign me. So then he had guys in two different weight classes that were going to go into the first MMA fights that Ohio ever held, because it became legal. I want to say like December 5th of 2005, and it was December 6th was my first MMA fight. Um, the
and you had never done MMA before, just wrestling, right?
Yeah, I only knew wrestling and powerlifting at the time. That was my background. And but when we got signed, he put us in 12-hour day training. Um, I was getting taught Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. I was getting taught by another guy of how to mix them. I was being in my contract. I had to do 2 hours a day of cardio, an hour or two a day of weightlifting. Um, my As part of my contract, I had training for 10 to 12 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week, and my diet was strict. I never had a more strict diet, and all of that training to lead up to these fights, and in my first fight, I ended up finishing it in 1 minute and 16 seconds. But at least it was fun.
How old at the time?
I'm sorry, what?
How old were you at the time?
19.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking 16. I was like, they were letting kids MMA back then?
No. You had to be 18, but I was just talking about like that was the next thing I did with my life at that time.
Hey, Larry, you want to show that clip of him getting down on the MMA?
That was my second fight. That was beginning of 2006.
Okay,
So this footage is from 10 years ago, mind you.
Yeah, you look kind of skinny. I mean, I wouldn't have told you that to your face. You're choking me out or something.
This footage is well. That's what I was saying. The footage though itself is little. You can tell it's old. And because I think this is off of somebody's phone camera, and I didn't think they even had phone cameras back then 10 years ago, or else I was too poor for one. And I'm the one on top that just took him down. This is third round, by the way, third round of the fight.
Going at it, huh?
Yeah, we were both pretty tired. Once I get into a full mount, I just start trying to go onto his face, and he was blocking, but not very well. And then you'll see here in a moment where I just start hitting his face so much that I look at the referee asking if we should even continue.
Yeah, are you gonna stop it or what? Because I'm just pummeling this guy.
Yeah, and
Well, that goes.
when
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
when the referee doesn't stop it, that's when I had to finish the fight by just unloading on his face at some point until they did break it up. The I don't know what happened right there, but the fight's still going here for a second. It's like right in here where I have to I stop and just look at the ref, and the reason being is because I already had blood coming out of his face on my arms, um, and I was curious if like do I keep going? He's like not
Yeah,
even blocking. He's right there.
I
I was looking
saw
at
it.
the ref.
You know what though? That says a lot about your character because some guys are so animalistic that they enjoy just hurting somebody, and you're like, look, this is pointless. Stop it. I've seen
Well,
boxers like in professional fights do that too.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's professional fights that they break up for less. You can already see like all the red spots on his arms, and that's from him like pulling the blood off his face.
Yeah, I see it on his arm. He's a mess. He's going in a frenzy. That's where the nickname came from, huh? Frenzy.
Yeah.
Nice. Um, so how long did you do that for? And I take back that whole you being skinny thing. That must be a bad angle. 'Cause you're bigger than
Yeah, no, I was 19 at the time. I had about a 2 year contract, and yeah, it was a 2 year contract, and it was after the contract. I was deciding on what to do with next in my life, and because I enjoyed the MMA, but I just didn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life, like my training partner did, Micah. Micah is still back there teaching MMA, and he's wonderful at it. Um, and I still love him. Like he's an amazing guy. But MMA just wasn't for me. And
yeah.
so I decided that as much as my love for comics, like my first job I ever had was when I was 13 in a comic book store. Um, and I love comics, I love movies. So what can I do with that? And so I decided to move off to Arizona, where I started going to film school, and I began going to for film production at Collins College, and that when I thought it was a great program, and then I started looking into it more once I was already in the state, and found out that they had a bunch of like lawsuits and stuff against them for um, basically their degree didn't mean much, and so I stopped going to school there, and I began going to school at Scottsdale Community College for screenwriting, and the Scottsdale Community College was a wonderful place to go. Steven Spielberg actually went there for his associates. I don't know if you know that. Um,
I didn't even know he had
uh,
any connection to AZ.
yeah, he went there. He actually went to high school in Chaparral High School.
uh,
Um, yeah, back in for him that was back in like I think the 50s or something. But
Yeah,
um,
our parents weren't even alive back then.
um, but yeah, he went to high school in Arizona, and in his associates in there, and that's one reason why I wanted to go there too. Um, and throughout all this time too, what I was continuously working hard at was always my acting and modeling. I began modeling right after the MMA fights because um, some of the fightwear wanted me to model their gear, and because I kept getting like free shirts and fight shorts and hoodies and stuff from them, and they wanted me to start modeling it. So I was like, sure, why not? This ought to be fun. And I never knew it would take off so well for me. My first 6 months of modeling, I got to spend a week in Hawaii, a week in Dallas. I spent time in Chicago and all over. And it was because these modeling gigs started to take off for me and sending me places. I mean, who's going to say no to a free week in Hawaii?
Mm.
no, definitely.
That's the only time I spent time in Hawaii was because of the modeling. I'd love to go back sometime, but it was
What are
free.
some of what are some of the modeling gigs that you've had?
In Dallas, I modeled for Dolce & Gabbana. I think I sent you a picture where I'm actually standing outside of the store, and there's a poster in one of their columns in front of the store for Dolce, and the it was an underwear ad for Dolce and Gabbana,
I know which one
but still,
I don't know if I sent that to Larry. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Um,
that was a pretty big deal to me, especially being that that was one of my first.
yeah.
And I've done many book covers and magazines since then. A lot of independent stuff. There's one that I also wrote for because of my screenwriting history. I had, I guess, decent enough writing skills. I proved myself to them. And so I wrote some health and fitness articles for a couple of magazines that were published throughout Arizona. And the yep, that's the one. That's a column in Dallas, Texas. It stayed up. I was told by my agent that that got me that gig. He said it stayed up there for 9 months.
That's awesome.
Pretty badass, yeah. So you said, yeah, not a lot of people can say, yeah, I've been featured. You know, I've done work with Dolce and Gabbana. That's pretty sick. Um, you said you had writing skills. You did some articles. That's going to come in handy. Some future endeavors. I won't really get into that too much, but you know what I'm thinking. Um, Also, you're good at the segue, man. You were talking about comics and all that good stuff, and it's funny because typically, you know, especially for me growing up, you know, if you read comic books, you were considered a nerd.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I used to go to the store and like on the weekends with a couple of little my allowance or whatever. I'd go to the store and I'd buy some comic books, and I would ask the lady at the store to if she could double bag my comic books because when I walked home, all the neighborhood kids were playing ball and doing whatever, and I didn't want anyone to see my comic books and make fun of me. And
Yeah.
sure, people would be like, "What you got in the bag?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing." So it was like, I tried to keep it a secret because back then, being a nerd wasn't cool like it is
No.
today. Now it's like the hipster thing to do, but
Yeah, I just did my own thing. Like
yeah,
I walked over 100 blocks. Like after school, uh, like we lived on base. So after school in Montana, I would, want to go to the comic store. So from the school, I had to walk like 25 blocks to get to the comic store. So I go to the comic store after school, then walk another 50 blocks to get to the base, and then across some huge field and everything like that to get in the back gate. And if I was too late, I had to walk all the way around to the front gate, which most bases is just ridiculous to get to the front gate. But I would collect. I was big into comic cards, the Marvel cards.
Yeah.
uh,
And I had a few comics, but the cards, we would trade the cards like crazy. Like I had all my friends who would trade them and everything, and you would get the ones with the glitter or the special ones, the Wolverine ones with the holograms and whatnot. So
I remember that.
I have
Yeah,
I have
now
a,
it's cool to collect comic books, which is kind of, it's cool. It's actually like trendy, but I'm still nerding it out. I just got this the other day, the Planet Hulk. You know what I'm talking
yeah.
about? That Planet
Yep.
Hulk, pretty good so far. But yeah, it's funny because being a nerd, I doubt anyone's gonna call you a nerd. Either you're gonna freaking put them in a freaking chokehold or deadlift their life away. But how did you, speaking of comics, how did you hook up with Flex Comics? I mean, I know you were their very first um, athlete.
Well, and to just touch on what you said about getting made fun of, I also was a very avid, like I played every single week for a solid 10 years, starting when I was 12, is Dungeons and Dragons. Um,
Nice.
I never missed a week, even when I had my surgery. The day that I checked myself out of the hospital, I had my dad drive me to my friend's house that was playing Dungeons and Dragons. Um, and And they were all older than me. Like the youngest person besides myself that I played with was probably in their young 20s. Um, the because I was 15. Yeah, the 22 I think was the next youngest, ranging to like 35, 40. And I grew up with these guys playing Dungeons and Dragons every single week, starting when I was 12 years old. My brother got me into playing with them, and I played until I moved away from Pennsylvania, which was when I was 22. And and trust me, when people heard at school I played, they wanted to say something because I mean I'd hear it from like some of my friends that they were making fun of it, but no one ever said anything to my face.
Oh,
I was already, like I said, at 14 deadlifting 400.
yeah.
Um, my I was already, I think I hit even my first competition was a month after my surgery. I benched 285 at the competition a month after my surgery, um, at 15. The um, so I mean I was definitely not somebody that got made fun of in school, at least not to my face. And then and it was always because I mean I'd be in school, I'd be reading fantasy novels, like Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer was one of my favorite novels ever. And I was reading those books on my downtime in school, and people would always make fun of those books, and that's just something I loved. And it was from that love that got me to, because people didn't normally pay for cosplay unless you were already like well established in the brand. So I seeked out other people to body paint me. I actually just was tagged yesterday, or maybe today, by one of my body painters for my Captain America shoot I did like 6 years ago on Instagram, and he posted it because it was a Captain America shot, and I gave a shout out to the new movie. But I seek these people out so that way I could get enough prints to be able to go sell them at Comic-Con. And it was the Comic-Con prior, like a year prior to the one that you were at, maybe a year or two, where Jeremy first saw me walking around selling my prints. I was co-working a booth with another model, Aurora O'Brien, who was in some of my photos. Me and her were both selling prints, and I ran into Jeremy as I was walking around the Comic-Con, and he saw me walking around with like the Wolverine claws that I had, and my prints were like in some side of my arm as I was getting ready to take off, and we just started up a great chat, and we were talking, and actually shortly thereafter I got that same picture put on the back of my cell phone. It was also on my coffee mug. It was kind of neat having that stuff, and I really hit it off with Jeremy and Flex Comics, and also Chris Marzullo is the co-owner of Flex Comics,
He's the
and
artist.
he also owns Geek Covers, geekcovers.com, some awesome phone cases, and anyways, these guys were just very interested in bringing me upon the brand that what they were starting is exactly what I embody. I embody trying to do the most I can in the sports, but also I'm a nerd. Like if you got a group of guys together right now for some Dungeons and Dragons, I would drop whatever I had going on my Friday night to play Dungeons and Dragons more than anything else. I'm not going to the bar.
Right there
I,
with
I'm
you.
I'm gonna sit down and play. But
I played Dungeons and Dragons, 40K tabletop, Gothic Fleet, 40K. In general, like I'd play that. I played Dungeons and Dragon. I would play Rifts from Palladium.
yeah,
Um, Rifts was awesome. I like that. Played Dungeons and Dragons for years.
yeah.
Um,
I
and
started on second edition.
oh, awesome.
Yeah, me and Larry are a little older. You know, we're mid-30s now, and Larry can vouch for this. When we were kids, even in high school, it wasn't cool to play good games and read comics and all that stuff. And I remember this, Larry, at Palo Verde out in high school. Before school started, a group of us would go downstairs to the basement and go into the little computer lab and play like Duke Nukem and all these little
Diablo.
yeah, Diablo, these PC games, yeah. And you didn't tell anybody though, any of the cool kids, because they call you nerd. But it's funny you talk about meeting Flex, or I always I call him Flex, Jeremy, and that day I met you guys at that Comic-Con. I specifically remember telling him, I'm like, man, I envy you right now because you're doing what I love. I love fitness. I love lifting weights, and I love comic books. And you were smart enough to merge the two into one thing and capitalize on it and make it into a brand and your own business. And I was like, right now I'm in awe because I would love to be doing what you're doing right now. Going to Comic Cons and meeting all these people and having fun, and at the same time making money doing it. So I told him, like, seeing that kind of just sparked something in my head, and I was like, I need to do what I love. I need to do something with this. And
What's funny about that is because shortly after that, like, what, a month or so, we hooked up.
Yeah, it's funny because I told him, I was like, hey, one day we're gonna do some things together. Watch, because just seeing what he was doing just kind of motivated the hell out of me. And big shout out to Jeremy Agapitos and Flex Comics. Dude's always been there if I had any questions and kind of gave us some tips as far as our business stuff goes. So much love to Flex Comics. Hey Larry, pull up the picture that I sent you that has Matt and Jeremy, and they're like flexing at the Flex Comics. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yep, I almost got it.
Yeah. And then we can talk about that's the one.
That was the one at the latest time I worked at an expo with him. That was the Anaheim Fit Expo this past year, and that was a lot of fun working that. I'd actually never gone to a Fit Expo at that time, and it was interesting. There was because there was nobody else there doing what he was doing. Everybody else was with supplements or just maybe like some workout shirts with some kind of cool slogans. There was a booth that was right next to them, had like stretchy jeans because guys like myself that have good sized quads I can't really get into jeans, so that was interesting. That was so much fun. Me and him loved running into some of these guys. I have other pictures where like there's a whole group of different type of predators behind us,
I've seen that.
and yeah, and there was a group of like different types of female spawn characters. It was so much fun working those cons. That particular picture is from 2013.
That was Amazing Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
January
the one
2013.
that's the one I met you guys at that day, actually, because I remember you had the singlet and he had that Venom shirt. Pretty cool,
Yeah,
man.
and I was getting a bit tired too because I kept on having to pick up all these different people and flex with them and stuff.
Yeah, Comic Cons are pretty awesome, man. Tell us about cosplaying and some of the characters you've done.
Well, it's so much fun because I've gotten to cosplay as Captain America, as Colossus, as God of War. I have some really cool body paint pictures as God of War. I've got there's the Arrow, there's Conan. I mean, I've done a lot of cosplay, and that one I got criticized for not having the right form on a bow. But it's a challenge sometimes trying to still be properly modeling as well as having the proper look with whatever weapon you're using.
Yeah, there's always going to be somebody who, especially with the, comic book nerds and stuff, they dissect these movies or these shows or, I mean, you get on these forums and stuff and these blogs and they're just tearing these guys apart. But
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, man. You were saying you had a book cover coming up.
Yeah, I'm doing a romance novel coming up soon, where I'll be on the cover of one.
Do you know the name of it?
Actually, I don't. She told me that she wasn't allowed to, because of her contract, she wasn't allowed to release that information until after the book comes out.
I got you. All right. Well, we still got a little bit of time.
Some other ones here. Walk us through this one.
I was terrible at power clean, um, but I still ended up doing that day. I got 240 and I almost got my 260. Um,
248
yeah, this is my 248 power clean. This is only my second competition ever doing power clean, and before my first one, I didn't know how to power clean at all, and never done it. The only reason I decided to is when NASA decided to add it in. I was like, hey, I'll do it. And my first time doing a power clean, I was told it looked like a reverse curl, but I was reverse curling 225. So, all right.
Yeah, a lot of people won't show their missed attempts. They'll only post their successful ones. That's your brother, right?
Yeah, that's my older brother. He's 6 years older than me. And actually, this very competition, that's why I liked having his lifts in on this, is he had taken about a five, I forget whether it was a 5 or 10 year hiatus between lifting competitions. And I had told him that I so badly wanted him to come back to lifting with me that I booked him a trip to come visit me in Arizona from Pennsylvania, and I, and I told him it was going to be on the same weekend as this competition, so you better get yourself ready. And we entered this competition together, and ever since then he's gotten serious about his lifting again, and he's selling Advocare, and he loves it. He's totally back into it.
Yeah, you and him used to hit these competitions when you were kids together.
Yeah, yeah. The last competition we did together was when the one I did when I was 14 and got 408. Uh,
Shout out.
my brother is 6 years older than me, so right now he's 36 and I'm 30.
No, I'm saying, what's his name? Give him a shout out.
Oh, Michael Lenzi. Definitely proud of Michael for coming back into powerlifting. I always got jokes too because you can see even my socks on there. I'm wearing Superman socks,
Yeah.
and I always got jokes. That I also posted that lift. It was all three were red lights because my feet moved. But I still post it.
I'll tell you what, the guy on the left, I can't remember his name, but he's a tough judge. Yeah, I can't do it like right now. But is there any videos of the squats or the deadlifts that we could show?
Oh, this is my brother's squat. I don't.
Huh?
I don't do the squat in competition, but my brother he's still insisted on doing squat. So because I only do power sports.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he made that look
Though the last time I squatted in competition, I was 22, and I had gotten a 500-pound squat.
Is there a reason why you don't squat anymore? Competition?
Mostly, I just don't do the squat now because of the fact that it doesn't feel right on my back when I'm squatting. So I've never really wanted to push it like that again. And I figure if I can just focus on power sports, then I would be safer that way. And I still squat. It's not like I skip leg day.
Yeah.
My favorite lift's the deadlift, but it just kind of goes along the way of that just wasn't best for me with my back injury.
Yeah, definitely. At least you're smart enough to do that. A lot of guys aren't. Larry, pull up a deadlift. I want to, this is the Barbell Life, so I'd be doing the fans an injustice if I didn't get some tips from you. You do got a pretty monster deadlift, so we'll let's see. I've seen you do conventional and sumo. Um, what are some tips you could give to the guys out there to, to a strong deadlift?
Well, the thing is that sometimes the people with the best deadlifts sometimes don't even realize that their form could be better. I was competing in New Mexico, and Rich Peters pulls me aside and tells me that I'm not a sumo deadlifter. I was sumo deadlifting at the time. And he's like, I'm looking at your body, and you absolutely are not made for sumo. Um, and I just did my best deadlift too that day ever, 551 at that time, and he says I still could be doing better, and so then he teaches me more than just conventional. My feet were so close together, it seemed like I was way too close, and by the way, that's a good friend of mine, Cindy Heiselman. She found that hilarious when she saw that. Anyways, about my deadlift, he brought me in so close, I thought it was crazy. But 2 weeks later, I decided to go ahead and max out again, and I did 585, only 2 weeks after getting my best ever deadlift in competition. And and
This
then
was
shortly thereafter, I hit 600 I think within only 3 months of him changing my form.
so you did all that conventional.
Yeah, and so my point is, what I'm saying that I thought I had a great deadlift at 550, and for my size and everything, and I know it can always be better. The And so whether it be the form, maybe your style of training, maybe it's your intensity of training, um, but I mean things always start with the form.
And so besides your stance, do you have any? What are some things you do as far as mentally preparing for a big lift attempt?
Well, when I'm at the competition, I actually really like the ammonia capsules because the ammonia like helps clear my mind. Sometimes when I know I'm about to go deadlift 600, it's and I'm only weighing in at 180. It's kind of intimidating to look at all that weight, and you know how small you are. It's um, it's something that can be intimidating to yourself. So I like the ammonia capsules to clear my mind. Also, I like listening to Godsmack or something like that. That's because I used to also come out to my MMA fights to the Godsmack song "I Stand Alone," and it's something that really gets my mood up for lifting. And it's a matter of just having that right mental moment for yourself when you're about to go lift, to really be in the moment.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I know you do the smelling salts, and I actually just bought some maybe a month ago. I tried it once, and I don't think I fully like did it hard enough because it kind of gave me the little like buzz or not buzz, but like kind of like the burn or whatever. But
Yeah.
I know it wasn't like I was supposed to, so I've kind of been holding off till I try like a really big attempt to get me psyched up. But that's cool. So good music, some smelling salts. Um, anything else?
Everybody has their way of getting ready for a lift when you're in competition. You'll see some guys that are like sitting all over in the corner, just like thinking, and I try not to think. The more I think, the more I like psych myself out, and that's why the music. That's why the smelling salts. Like I do what I can to not think about the weight, and because by the time you're ready to enter a competition, you better know your form well enough that you don't need to be thinking about how you're going to set yourself up. I know when I run up to that bar, I'm just going to reach down and grab it because I know at this point my form is on point and it's going to be right. Um, but if your mind's not there, it doesn't matter how good your technique is.
Yeah, mental. A lot of powerlifting and weightlifting in general is all mental, man. If you can figure out what works best for you as far as approaching a big lift and having the right mind frame to attack it, you're going to be golden. Actually, next week's guest is Richard Hawthorne. I don't know if you know who he is, but dude weighs 130 pounds, and he's like deadlifting close to 700 pounds. He did a competition last year in Australia, and he got named pound for pound the strongest man in powerlifting, which is insane. So we'll definitely be
Yeah.
touching on that too. You know, picking his brain because it definitely takes a mental toughness to do that.
To touch on mental focus and toughness, the one thing you'll notice throughout, Matt's life here is it's been about that. His whole, time, where he had the back injury and they said no, it was about mental toughness, and you can achieve so much by just having the right mindset and really just, going out there and saying, you know what, regardless of what you guys are telling me, I'm going to achieve this. And you see that time and time again, whether it be, even with the modeling contracts. I'm sure people told you, no, you're not going to get that one with, Doja. And you were like, I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it, and you got it. So, a lot is about overcoming your own limitations that you set on yourself, because a lot of people set limitations on themselves and they go, oh, no, I can't do it, and as long as you believe in yourself, you got to be the first person on your team.
Well, there's a saying that goes, forget it's like either you can or you can't. Both are right. You know, if you tell yourself you can't do something, then you're not going to do it. But if you tell yourself you're going to do it, you'll fucking do it. On that note, we're pretty much out of time. But Matt, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Been a great show. A lot of stuff we've been talking about. Definitely want to get you back on, and definitely got some big plans ahead, and hopefully you're part of that. So that'd be great. Do you want to get any last words in? Maybe some plugs or something like that?
Um, it's just always been great to work with you guys. Great to have me on your Facebook page, and it's been awesome being here with you guys.
Appreciate that, man. We'll definitely be having you back on.
So,
On that note, go ahead and take it away, Larry.
right. So what we have here, you guys know, we're coming with the supplement. We had a slight delay here with some of the ingredients because we went all natural because we believe in going all natural, no junk, no chemicals or anything like that. So it's coming. Of course, we have plutonium, which is our pre-workout, and we have reaction, which is our post-workout. So we'll be having these guys, for you guys to check them out and let us know what you guys think. If you're not on the mailing list, go ahead and go to barbellnutrition.com and jump on the mailing list so that you can get the updates on everything that we're doing. We'll start ramping that up more and giving you guys discounts and so forth, letting you guys know the latest and greatest of what we're doing and so forth.
All right, man. And before we say goodbye, I just want to give a big happy birthday to my boy Larry. Happy 35th, and also to Carla. Happy birthday, girl. Again, thanks, Matt. Great having you on the show. And until next week, we're out.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
So here we go. It's all focused on me here.